We've just arrived at the trailhead. I've loaded up my backpack, which took forever. I didn't weigh it, but I think it's going to be somewhere around 25 pounds. I think is a reasonable estimate. And we're bringing my brother-in-law's dog here. This is Rue. And then you said your pack was 16 pounds?
15.
15.
With the water.
Nice. We didn't start this trip until about, what was it, 5:30 or so last night? No, we started the trip at 7.
Yeah.
Actual hike.
7 o'clock.
So, yeah, so we didn't start our hike until 7 o'clock last night. And when we got to our campsite, which was, we are guessing about a mile in, it was getting pretty dark, so I didn't film anything. But everything is set up now. We have spent our first night. And I thought that I would give you my opinion on the first night, and my brother-in-law is going to give his opinion, and I think that's going to be a little bit different. So, first of all, when we got here, I had not tied the cord to my tarp yet, and that took a bit. Had it been raining, that would have been a miserable experience, so definitely do that before you head out. But so we got everything, all the cords on the D-rings, and got the tarp installed, and it looks great. It had one leak up here on this top seam that I will have to use some silicone to patch, but I am very pleased with the results of this tarp, and I'll have a video you can watch of how I made that. The hammock is one that I am testing out for a company. It's the Toto Bay. And I discovered it's very much a family camping, like just a day hammock kind of hammock, not really for overnight. The biggest issue I had was stretching of the straps here. When we started, this strap was right here, and it has stretched down close to a foot on both sides. I had to keep adjusting it through the night. So that is definitely an issue that I had. And I think the hammock itself had a little bit of stretching. So, my thoughts on hammock camping after doing it for one time. The hammock matters. The one that I was using was not the best. There are lots of mosquitoes out here, so that kept me up a good bit of the night. The campsite we're at has some dogs that were barking all night long, which I guess is just a situational experience, but did not sleep much, so I would probably recommend not using a sleeping pad, but using the under quilt, which I'll show you. My brother-in-law has a much better system here than what I used. So my setup was tarp, of course, hammock, and then under here I had just this basic Thermarest ridge rest pad, and it wants to lay flat like the banana here, and in a hammock it's better to lay diagonal, and this wouldn't really turn diagonal without a lot of work, and then it would just slide back into place here. So definitely taking out this and adding the under quilt will be a first step for me. Taking a look at my brother-in-law's setup, the tarp is very similar. He's got some tie-outs here, and he said that there was a little issue with some leaks just right here at the edge of this, and the company told him he would need to dab some silicone there to prevent that. He's got a very similar strap system for his tarp here, and then he's got Amsteel for the hammock, which is much lighter, and also his webbing did not stretch at all. So I have some of this, and I'll be using that with my hammock in the future. Then his hammock, he does have a ridgeline, which is very handy for putting gear on. And here is his under quilt, which right now it's quite tall, but when you sit in there it will conform better.
It went pretty well. I also didn't get too much sleep, but I was able to sleep some. An under quilt was a big help. I've never used one before. I've used a pad a couple times out in the yard, but the under quilt is a big improvement. It made for a more comfortable night. Stayed dry underneath the tarp. I think Seth and I both have really good tarps, and overall it was all right. It was a good start. It's a good first night out on the trail. A good test night. We'll looking forward to longer trips. Oh, nice. Pretty wide.
Yeah, it is wide. Last night we hung our food up in this tree. Perhaps not the best tree because a bear could have climbed that fairly easily, but it is still there, so it must have worked. I just got back from the camping trip, and I thought that I would unpack my backpack and let things air dry. And I also thought that I would kind of point out the things I used and didn't use. So let's get here and open things up. Start off here with the sleeping pad. I used this, but I believe I'm going to be making an underquilt that will make this hammock camping a lot better. Now, one thing that I used extensively was this, what I call a sit pad, but it's just a small piece of foam that I would sit on or kneel on or put around my cook pot, just all kinds of stuff. So that was definitely in the used pile. I did use this, but it's not ideal. Okay, let's open this up here. Okay, I did use my fleece. That was definitely good to have. This is the pant to the rain suit. I didn't use that, but definitely will in the future, so that was good. Next is the water bladder. I did use that quite extensively. I packed about 1 liter, and there's only that much left. Now, the hammock, I will be doing a review on here pretty soon. Not ideal for overnight stuff, so but you'll have to see that review later. So hammock definitely will be used, but not that one for overnight stuff. The tarp worked very well. I am pleased with the outcome there. Just need to get some sealant for the ridge line. So that was great. This bag we used for the food, which I need to get in there and clean up. But there's just some food items left in there. So that was really nice to have, so we could get things up on the tree and not worry about bears. The top of the rain suit I did use. This was $28 at Walmart for the two. And not only did I use it for the rain, but also for mosquitoes. It was pretty bad last night with all the mosquitoes. Did not use the water filter, but would like to replace this with maybe a life straw, something much smaller than this large bag. It's a little bit heavy too. Didn't use my extra pair of socks, but definitely nice to have. Now this is a liner for a mummy bag, and that's actually what I used for my face because the mosquitoes were so bad. And I definitely intend on sewing mesh into my hammock to prevent the mosquito problem. Because it was so warm, I did not have to use my sleeping bag, but I could see in a hammock, a mummy bag like this would be very irritating to work with. This has a half zipper, which means it only goes halfway down the bag. I'll show you here in just a second. So you can see the zipper stops here. And there's all of this down here that doesn't have a zipper. And so having to get into a hammock and then into this bag would be difficult. So I'm going to be making an underquilt and a quilt to camp in instead of using that. Okay, getting down to the bottom here. Ziploc bag, didn't need that. This is my pack cover. I'm going to carry this later for rain issues, but having my thermarest on the top of the bag prevented this from being used because it wouldn't fit over the thermarest. So later on when I have an underquilt, it'll eliminate that issue. Okay, in the hood I used my glasses case, contact stuff. It's always nice to have toilet paper. And then we used a fire starter. So all of the things in this bag I used except for I took some Band-Aids. Didn't use those. I had a toboggan, which didn't need, probably could have used for mosquito issues, but didn't wear it because it's warm out. This was a really cool thought. My brother-in-law made one of these. You can go to the post office and they're usually out for free. It's a full-size envelope, but I just cut it down and then used the sticky portion that closes the envelope as a seam seal, and that's where I have stored my stakes. That way I don't have to worry as much about getting a hole stuck in something from a stake. I can just stick them in this Tyvek bag. Whoa! The last two things, we used a little bit of this paracord to make some drip lines for my brother-in-law's hammock, and this was very handy. I must have used this for 3 hours last night, and I'll be doing the review on that, but this was a very great product to have, this little flashlight with the firefly mode there. Water filtration, toboggan, and sleeping bag were the main things that I did not use. I would like to start cutting weight down because if we go for more than a one-night trip, it's going to be a little bit longer and heavier, and so I just want to be sure to have a lightweight pack. I know this video was not as exciting as I had hoped it would be, but it's really hard to film at night and in the rain, so this is all we got. But I would like to improve my gear, and we're going to be doing this kind of trip more often, and so maybe I can give you some better content.